All right, and welcome back to Don't Think Just Charge.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Ed.
And now for something completely different.
In our never-ending quest to produce the algorithm, we're trying out a few different forms of content, and so this is one of those random things that we thought we'd just have a go at and see how it works. So this is what we are affectionately calling the list doctors right now.
Trademarked.
We discussed this just before turning the cameras on, and we may have very well have stolen this from someone, but...
Yeah, it's that sort of thing of, there's so much stuff out there on the internet, someone's probably done this.
You say it and then you're like, that sounds familiar, or is it just a good idea? Who knows?
We're just geniuses.
We're just geniuses. It's a great idea. No one's ever thought of it before us.
Exactly.
Anyway, moving on. So the idea is that you guys, the community, will send in lists if maybe you've been to a tournament, if maybe you've had a game that just didn't go so well, or went amazingly well. Maybe you want to send it in to brag, and we'll see if we can try and still feel superior somehow. We're just going to basically go along, see what troubles they had, see what kind of things we could see wrong with it, and then maybe do our own revisions.
Yeah, and here's the stick. You send in the list to us, you get into our friendly local Discord, you say, here's the list, here's where it went right, here's where it went wrong. Ideally, as well, you'll come with a bit of a flavour of the list you're trying to do. We'll come on to today, the list we're doing for Ryan, which is a Robot Legions list, had a bit of a theme that we've tried to incorporate into our doctoring, and that's the pitch. You want to hear two complete weirdos on the internet talk about how you built your OPR list. Let us know, because we want to talk about it.
Exactly, yeah, we love it. The link for the Discord will be in the description below, so you can always just join in and send over a list if you want. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. Before we do that, we thought we'd have a little quick sidebar discussion about some lists that we've made for an upcoming tournament in less than a month now. It's like 3 weeks away or something.
For those of you at home as well, pay attention to this channel, and of course, shout out to Spymaster Gaming. We'll be doing something with him soon, where we're talking about, first of all, this event that we're both going to be playing in early December, which will be in Bristol.
Yep.
And then in January, I'm going to be running an Age of Fantasy event, which you're going to play in.
Yep.
Andy at Spymaster Games is going to play in, and we'll be talking about, because there is a special thing going on with that.
Ooh.
Not giving that one away just yet. That spoiler goes to his channel. But lots of exciting events going on in England at the moment.
Yep.
Those of you who aren't in England, get jealous. We're running things pretty damn well.
Get jealous.
Get a plane ticket. If you get a plane ticket, man, mad props to you for that one.
Yeah.
We've got these two events. We've got UKGA. OPR is popping off in the country at the moment. Yeah. And so come get involved. If you're in the UK and you're not playing in these events, why?
Why not?
Let us know. We'll get you involved. We have at least a WhatsApp chat. We're real fancy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first thing we're looking towards is December. And December is called, can we have some dramatic music and a dum-dum-dum, the Tiburon Gambit. You heard it. So, Tiburon Gambit is going to be a one-day event. I think there are 4 or 5 games across the day. We know it really well. Yeah. But what we do know is it is 2K basic level OPR. So it'll be D3 plus 2 objectives, most controlled objectives at the end of the game wins.
With some to be revealed on the day, like slight differences, I think. We're very excited about this. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, so... Yeah.
As far as we know, it's basic OPR, so that's what we're preparing for. 2K, Grimdark Future. We are both bringing official lists.
Yep.
And we're doing things that we both find very exciting with it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what I'm bringing in a minute. Let's talk about what you're bringing and why.
Okay, so I'm bringing my Dark Elf Raiders, and those are just my favourite faction. I will never not... I think I've played them every single event that we've ever done, and I just love them. Yeah. I just love my bright yellow and red boys.
Yeah, they are. The way you've painted them as well is super cool. They are just some funky miniatures, and they do stem from your love of GW's Dark Eldar.
Yeah. Their lore, their rules on the tabletop when I do occasionally play 40k.
Yeah.
All that stuff is awesome. And I just love a playstyle that's very kind of tricky. Obviously, everything of theirs has either fast or very fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love the ability to just move off 20 inches and grab an objective late in the game. And my list includes 2 HQs running at their own units. So the first one is the Witch Leader. She has an elite barb pistol, the Succubus upgrade, and Deadly Spouse, which gives them Dark Strike. So her and her unit get AP +1 in melee. She's joined to some witches, so they have a load of just basic weapons, really, +1 Sergeant Energy Sword. Then I have a unit of True Witches. These are kind of basic, just there to steal objectives, really, because it's an 80-point unit, it's 3 people, they're really not going to make any difference in a huge thing, but for board control, having those little units that can just run off and do their own thing and pretend they're not even in the battle, they're very useful. Then I have some True Warriors. These are kind of similar, but I have upgraded them with barb cannons because I thought it makes them more expensive, but it means they can sit back on an objective. They've got 30 inches. The whole unit of 3 people has 9 attacks out to 30 inches. Just allows them to sit back, just plink away at some stuff and go from there. Then my next HQ is my Archon, my Dark Lord, and he's joined to some Nightmares. So this unit is all about the deadly. He's got the Shell Sword, they've got their Energy Swords and Slayer, so this is a unit that's going to just be there to get straight into combat with something big, a tank, a monster, something scary. They're going to hopefully just wipe it out immediately. And then I have some Winged Warriors. Those guys have ambush, and in my opinion, and I think you agree, you always need some ambush in a list. It's just a very, very flexible and useful ability for the kind of cost of what it is on a unit. So those guys have barb carbines and an EMP rifle, bit of rending in there, just generally a decent amount of attacks with poison. Then I have a heavy skimmer. This has 3 destroyer cannons, which have 3 attacks each with AP2 out to 36 inches, and it also has stealth. So it's not very tough. Tough 9 is not amazing for a vehicle, but it should just be able to hang around in the back lines, 9 shots with AP2, just hopefully it should be able to really...
That thing's going to be annoying.
Yeah, I hope so. And then I have 2 heavy jet bikes, which are going to be transporting the Dark Lord and Nightmares, and the Witch, the true Elite Raider. Keep forgetting what her actual thing is. The witch leader, basically, and her
the witch leader and the witches.
The witch leader and the witches. All the witchy fun. So yeah, two heavy jet bikes full of melee goodness, and finally the Engine of Suffering. This is the only thing I wasn't too sure about in my list. It doesn't have fast. It's the only thing that doesn't. But it's fair. It's a good tough platform with some kind of decent shooting and it's kind of okay in melee as well, so fairly flexible. Defense 2 up and regeneration means it's going to stick around.
Covers a lot of nice bases. Now, you and I have spoken about your list quite a bit. We had quite a few versions that we talked about and we bounced off each other. You've kind of hit on a few really good points, I think, with this list. Oddly enough, having had a hand in it, I think this is a good list.
I think it's a good list, yeah.
It does a lot of good things, and this is actually a conversation topic for another time that we'll be coming on to. Stay tuned. Also, we haven't chilled. Like, comment, subscribe.
Rewind.
We can stick that back in at the start. Or not. Let's test how many people are watching. You're right, though. I think that if you want a good list in OPR, you want at least 1 ambush.
Yeah.
I think you probably want 2. Mm-hmm. And if you're pushing 3, unless you're themed for it, you might be pushing it out. There is a balance to strike there. It depends where you're coming from. Yeah. But at least 1 is great.
I think,
because it stops people like you from bringing a unit of True Warriors in the back line.
Yeah. Yeah, because if someone has ambush in their list, now I have to focus on that. They can't just sit there, because 3 guys, especially this is not a tough list. Exactly. They're gone. As soon as anything looks at them, they're gone. So they need to be covering that space if there's an ambusher. It's just an extra thing to think about, where they and the same with the heavy skimmer is fairly
it's pretty
sturdy,
robust.
But if everything's meant to move forward and claim stuff and be running around, and then I have those 2 units just sat around in the back, someone with some good ambushers is probably going to be able to take advantage of that. So.
I think that the Custodian list that I played a couple of weeks ago is a good example of something that can bring in tough, gnarly ambushes that can really punish players who aren't ready for it. Yeah. And so, some ambush, very good. The other thing that all of your list and all of my list brings, which is really important, is speed. Yeah. In a game like OPR, where your position on the board matters so much, and also the ability to move. It's still a dice game, so you've got to be able to react, and being able to react to this quickly, really, really strong.
Yeah.
You've got 2 out of, I think, 3 of the most important things for a good OPR army.
Yeah.
The third thing is morale mitigation. And that's something that neither of our lists does at all.
It's difficult, isn't it? I feel like this is like the good thing. When I first got into OPR, I remember wondering whether like all the armies look the same because they all have the same basic profiles and rules. There didn't seem to be any like, but like when you look into it, like you take a Battle Brothers list, everyone's got fearless, everyone's got amazing morale and stuff like that. And so like there is this thing of like you choose a list and you know you're going to be missing like 1 or 2 key things that would be ideal to have, but you just can't have it all.
To kind of pick up on 2 of the things you said, with this 3.4 change, one of the things that happened was that veteran units were separated out.
Yep.
And veteran units, for those of you wondering what I'm talking about the ones that have got the typical upgrade that gives you +1 to your hit, your quality checks, but
so
not
it used
your
to be a little tick box where it'd be upgrade to true warrior or veteran
or chosen
or whatever the thing was, and it's +1 to hit in shooting and melee.
Exactly. But what that now gives you is something, I think, again, another really important aspect of OPR: extra activations for pretty damn cheap. I mean, so your true witches are 80 points, your true warriors are 185, but that's because you've kitted them.
Yeah.
So they are slightly different for that.
Yeah.
But true witches, they've got dodge as well, so -1 to hit in melee.
So they're not, and if someone does, like they're not going to be changing the battle on their own. If I'm tabled except for them, I'm not expecting to win.
Yeah.
But like, it's 80 points. They're a unit that get me that extra activation. They get me an objective. They have fast. They can run all over the place if they need to.
Yeah, they've got all that aspects. I mean, in a purely tactical position, one of the things this does is punishes someone with a low activation list.
Yeah.
And like, you've got 9 activations here, which at 2,000 points in Grimdark Future is a lot. In my mind, at 2k Grimdark Future, 1,500 Age of Fantasy, you want 7 activations, at least.
Yeah.
You've got 9.
Yeah.
Which means that if somebody falls below that 7 activation mark and is in 6, you want them to activate an elite unit early. And so you can maybe sling up your heavy skimmer, maybe try and draw them out, and it's going to get to the point really quickly for them where they're like, oh, if I activate, I've just taken a quarter of one unit's go in this whole game, and you're like, it's 3 true witches.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I might put them in a bit of a risky position, draw you into an uncomfortable position. You kill them, 80 points.
And
who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is part of the greatness about transports. I really love for being able to, like, you get a very fast transport. They can move 20 inches and then the unit can activate after that.
Yeah.
And if you force someone to do all their activations, that transport can then be in the middle of their lines, ready to offload the payload, and they can't do anything about it because you're getting your action. So yeah, there's some thinking behind this of like the list synergizes with getting those activations, getting those slightly vulnerable melee troops held back until the right moment, and then they get in, they can deal some carnage, force some units off the board and all that kind of stuff.
We'll come on to it when we talk about my list in a minute, but that fast gives you an element of, I've affectionately, what me and some of my mates who I playtest with have affectionately called charge control, which we will come on to at some point. But one of the things I wanted to hit as well is you've got that point of if you're against somebody with 7 activations, and you have 2 activations in a row. A double activation, especially when you've got a unit in a transport, really big. Really big.
Useful.
So you can do some big swings there. We like your list.
Okay, we had to have a brief cut there because it has been snowing today and we filmed this in a garage. If you would like to see us get, like, I don't know, our own studio, our own air-conditioned and heated, central heated studio, then maybe start donating on Patreon. We can set up a tier for, like, I don't know, like
studio fund?
$2,000 a month. You can pay for our studio.
Oh man, I feel like we're going to have at least 1,000 people who want to do that.
So many people.
We can
Why
just
wouldn't you, right?
hire out, the biggest F-off venue in the whole of the world. Run OPR events every weekend and have live audiences watching us talk shit about lists like we're professionals.
That would be amazing.
Oh,
and I'm sure you watching, you.
And you.
Yeah, Terry. Someone who's Terry is really freaked out right now. Yes, Terry, I'm looking at you.
I've seen you in the comments.
Get on the £2,000 a month, pay for our Patreon studio Patreon thing.
Buy me some new dice first, please.
Buy some dice for Dave, and then we'll think about the studio. Right, you've got your jumper on, you're nice and warm. Tell us
more
about your
snuggly.
list.
Right, my list. So, my list is Lust Demons. I think that Lust Demons are an absolute sleeper army in OPR. I think they're obscenely strong.
Yeah.
They fall down on one of those points we've already talked about. They have no morale mitigation. Really important.
Yeah.
If I pick my fights badly with this list, if I overcommit in areas too early, or if I leave units unprotected or in bad positions, I'm going to eat shit and die. Yeah. It's going to be a list that mistakes will ruin me.
Yeah. Interestingly, very similar to mine, where there's a lot of 4-up, 5-up defense in the like the Furies and the Warriors and stuff. So very, very much like skill-based armies that need to be played well. If they're played well, they're going to decimate. Yeah. If they're not played well, they're going to be left with nothing by turn 3.
And at the same time, one of the things that falls into it with both of our armies is if I see a mistake or an opening that my opponent gives me, and I punish that, then I can do a lot with it. And we'll come on to why. And demons pack 2 particular aspects of their own rules. So the first is the demon rule. The second is that they all have some form of something. And I think that Lust has got the best in Lust Demons. Probably followed by War. And that's controversial because I know a lot of people love Plague.
Plague can be amazing. To be fair, I haven't played Plague in a couple of updates, so they might not be as crazy as I remember them. But like
they are still really resilient. But I just think in terms of the ability to interact with a proper strategy, Lust is the way forward. So it's got the things to pick out that it's got. Fast, which we've already mentioned, and I'll come on to when talking about some of the things in my army. The other thing they've got, which is mental, is Overload. Right? So Overload, for those of you who don't know, on every 6, I roll 2 new attacks. Okay? So Furious is on every 6, it generates a hit. Overload is I can do 2 more rolls. Now, on average, if I'm a quality 4+, that means it turns into 1 extra hit. It means that for my quality 5-up units, not the best chances of it. It means for my quality 2 and 3, we're looking at more hits, right? That also combos with things like Rending, which I've got in this list. So there are more ways to break it. And then I'll come on to...
Because the specifics of, like, for example, Furious say only the original hit counts as 6. If you get to roll again, then
I get more goodies. I can't chain Overload into Overload.
No.
You can't do that. That would be too good. But you've got that, and when you throw in extra things that happen here, you get some spice. So that's one of those are a couple of things. And of course,
Demon took a nerf, like a little bit of a nerf. Obviously, now you can't ambush more than half your army.
Well, just for those of you who don't know, Demon reads... Every single unit in your army has this. This unit may ambush or scout at the start of the game.
You decide at the start.
No more than half your army can ambush.
And it used to be
the whole goddamn thing.
It used to be ambush used to have no restrictions on half the army. So it used to be you could just have nothing on the table to start if you wanted, and then fully. And like I didn't see too many people do that, but I always thought I never played demons during that era, but I always thought that would be amazing because they just walk around
so strong,
and you can just do an alpha strike.
Well, it just completely changed, and this still applies for all ambush armies, right? It completely changes the tone of the game. It goes from, I'm here, you're there, with a little bit more flexibility, to your deployment no longer matters. And on top of that, you make one mistake in your deployment that leads into how I want to play.
And now
crunk you.
There's just so much stuff you can't deal with.
Exactly. It is unhinged strong. All ambush armies are, and for those of you at home thinking, how can I bring in another really, really strong list? Or ambush is a good way.
Is awesome.
Alien hives. Focusing on Grimdark future here. Alien hives and dwarves can do this really well. With tunneler.
Yeah.
So it's really, really strong. Yep. Demons, I think, took a nerf. I don't think it's a good enough nerf to bring them down from my estimation.
100%. I think like there are stupid things you could have done with ambush in the previous, but like having an army that because it's also like my list, I have an ambushing unit, but that is like one ambushing unit. I know you know what I have. I know I have. You have the flexibility to say, okay, this time I want all my big stuff on the table to start. I want all the fast stuff coming in later, or I want all the stuff to grab objectives, come out, do all this stuff, and then I want the big heavy hitters to be coming in at turn 3 to just clean up the table. So like the demon rule is just ridiculous. It's
flexibility.
So good.
And on top of that, the second half of it, because ambush is the headline, right? There's no mincing that. Scout still
as
means
the consolation prize is like still
nuts,
just amazing. Yeah,
you set up your whole army. I haven't touched a thing. I watch your entire deployment. Yeah. Before the game starts, I'm telling you what's in ambush anyway.
Yeah.
Don't muck around with ambush. Don't try and game it. Do that first.
Yeah.
Play clean, folks. But regardless, the units I have in Scout, I get to see how you set up, and then I put them down, and then I can move them up to 12 inches. Them up
anyway, yeah.
And you don't have to do that, right?
Because you probably can.
Exactly. If I'm activating first, which you know at the point of deployment, I can decide to put my fast scouting, some of them flying in strider units, up that 12 inches.
Yep.
One of the things I see people doing with Scout is forgetting you do not have to move them up.
Yeah, it's not always going to be the right call.
No.
And I suppose it feels like in some cases it might feel like, I've paid points for that scout, that's an ability, so I have to make use of it.
We didn't preempt this, right? That is one of the complaints I see when people are saying about Scout. I paid points for this, but I've just been blown out the water because I was going second and I scouted up. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's an option.
Yeah.
And when I say that as a good thing, you've got to understand it's not like the hybrid tax, which, it's a boogeyman phrase and it's not such a thing, but it is. It's a strategic option.
Yeah.
And when applied properly, you will smash with it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it. Your tax on Scout isn't massive.
No.
And so Demon, huge. And I think we've accidentally just given everyone a podcast on our Demon episode.
We've said all there is to say about this. It's amazing. Demons are cool.
Demon is cool. So now we've spent ages ranting about the magic words at the top. I can talk to you about the list. The list is 3 fatties, and I think it was 40 dooders otherwise. Fatties and dooders, very technical language here. One don't think just charge. The fatties are 1 Ascended Harbinger. This guy is tough 12. He has 16 attacks. He's a 2/2. Of course, he's got that overload. And he's got fast as well. I've given him cast 3, and the cast list for Lust Demons is chef's kiss. I pulled out 2 particular spells, which is why it's great, which I'll talk about again in a moment, but so good. And then he's got a Symbol of Lust 3. This reads, once per game, roll 1d6 per number, so it's roll 3d6. On a 2+, you inflict, I think it's 3 hits on a nearby unit. So I can just drop it on good rolls, and when it comes out, 9 hits are coming out.
Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah.
Mental good. I can just absolutely pop out, ruin a chaff unit, force some morale checks, or if I'm going for something big, 9 hits is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So this thing can come down and do some damage. I'll talk to you about the other 2 fatties before I come on to the mashed potatoes. We've got a champion on Harbinger. This guy is tough 9. He's he's quality 4, defense 2 because of the Harbinger. He's caster 2. He's got, I think, 10 attacks coming in, 4 of them with AP 3. I've said he's caster 2. And the other thing is just the Harbinger, which is tough 6. This one has got 8 attacks, 6 of them are AP 3, another caster 2, another symbol, but 2 this time.
Yep.
Those 3 interacting with their caster are what feeds in for the rest of my list. Now, we've spoken so much about the power of the special rules. I have one trick. My trick is, hitting you where I choose, when I choose, but if it goes wrong, game over. If I face Custodians and Prime Battle Brothers and it doesn't go my way, if you make your saves or I don't get all my hits, I'm going to crumble really quickly. And this is why this is a fragile list, but the potential is there. So, I'll talk to you about the spells and why they're exciting. One of them, less exciting, it's Pleasure. It's a level 2 spell, and it's 2 allied units within 12 inches get +1 to their defense rolls. That's nice, right?
Yeah, that's decent,
It's nice. It just kind of mitigates a bit of AP. Keeps things around a bit longer. Means that hopefully I'm not making those awful morale checks. The one that's spicy is this, right? It's called Ecstasy. It's a level 3 spell. 2 allied units within 12 get +3 to hit the next time they charge, right? When you're considering that everyone is fast, when you're considering that so many of my units I've got 3 units with flying, 1 unit with Strider. I can ambush them in behind difficult terrain, make your job getting me harder. If you've got Warning Cry forcing me out to 12, I don't care because I'm moving 16. And then I can land that in and make things with Overload have +3 to hit. Things are going mental. So that's the game plan.
Nice.
Pump the spells up to max, slap that down on my units, charge you, and hope that I overwhelm you with numbers. If I don't, I'm going to eat shit and die. This could go horribly wrong, folks. And we'll give you a report afterwards to tell you how well it goes. Now on to the less sexy bits, but it will be more sexy on the day because this is where you apply it. 2 units of 10 Furies with A2 and Rending. They are 5/5s, so they can't take a hit. On the charge, 20 attacks, quality 5 with overloads. Okay, you pump that up to 2+. Now we're cooking. So that's the real... If you see me dropping an Ascended Harbinger in the middle of 2 units of 10 Furies, start cowering. Because if I get that spell cast off, things are going to happen. So that's the real spice. After that, I've got a unit of 5 Harpies. I think they've got A2 and AP1 rather than Rending. They're there for objectives. I've also got a unit of 5 Warriors. They've got A1. Again, they're objective takers. And I've got a unit of 10 Warriors. They've got a banner which gives them Strider, and they've got A2. So they're not quite the Furies level, but they're quality 4/4. So they're a bit better. They can still do bits. That's it. So the list isn't massively exciting outside of the 3 fatties at the top.
Well, I mean, I think, like... those Furies could struggle, like, if someone, I mean, similar to a lot of my units, if someone even looks their direction, it could be just the end of the game for them. But then this is the thing, like, hopefully people are trying to take down those bigger units and the Furies get away, because a 5/5, as you say, that's also the kind of the psychological bit of it, where someone goes, they're only 5/5. I'm going to focus on the Harbingers, the
2/2s, the 3/2s,
all
the
those
4/2s.
crazy stuff. And then suddenly, you're coming in with... And I mean, like, 10... there's 2 units of 10, aren't there?
2 units
20
of 10
attacks on the charge with Rending. Even if they don't get that off. Like, 5s and 6s Rend is still with Overload, is still like... pretty much going to shred most things.
It's going to do a good job.
And like flying and fast, like you're dictating where the fights are happening. So even if they don't get the buffs, it's still fairly kind of...
I mentioned it earlier, charge control. And this is something that those Furies do so well. And it is such a combo of fast and Strider or fast and flying. It means that I can place myself in really awkward positions that most units can't get into. And I choose where to charge. We spoke about it in an earlier battle report of that really great guy, the Professor, popped up. We haven't seen him in a couple of weeks.
Guy.
I love him. He's brilliant.
He stopped coming round as much.
I know. We'll have to make sure we pay him his rent so he can get himself back in. £2,000 a month. Folks.
£2,000 a month. Patreon, get on it.
There is a relevant point of when you land an ambusher in and you want to charge, you try and have a couple of targets. When I've got 16 inches of Strider and flying, baby got charges. I have control. So so much threat range, so much threat control, and it's an important thing to remember that running away it's not the best strategy in OPR because you're probably running away from objectives. But if I'm running away a bit to fast zip around you, Going well.
Well, I've had so many games when I've taken like my heavy jet bikes and stuff, regular jet bikes. I've had so many games where it's looking precarious. We're both down quite a lot of units, but I just managed to hop out and just grab a load of objectives. Like that end of game scoring ability can be so useful.
It really is. And remember that one model in a unit captures objectives as well as 20.
Yeah, exactly. And if they've moved off it because they're like, this is safe, this is in my back line, no one's getting over to there, and suddenly you're like, oh, this is how long 20 inches is. That's that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So those are our lists. Are we full of shit? We
might be. We have a tendency to we have a very like all shiny mentality. And I feel like we get quite hyped on stuff. And I just love playing this game, man.
Yeah, man.
So like it could be the case that it's these are both awful lists.
Yeah, we could go to this event in December and absolutely tank. At which point we're going to come back, give you our feedback on the event.
Our feedback, and
we'll have to say the dice went against me. My opponent was a loose lucker.
Yeah.
The sun came up on the wrong side of the road, and the wind was blowing the wrong direction. Because we can't be wrong.
Everyone was cheating. Well, everyone's playing. Everyone's got these weighted dice.
Exactly right. And our dice are weighted the wrong way.
The wrong way. We tried to get the weighted dice, and we bought the wrong ones.
But most importantly, from all of that sidebar nonsense, is what do you think? Tell us. Let us know.
Tell us what you think of our list.
Do you agree?
We're not the authorities. We don't know everything. This
I'm Welling. We're not the authorities. We could be authorities.
We could.
We definitely don't know everything. I could say we barely know anything, but it is an important point. What do you think? Let us know if you want us to talk about your lists in such an evocative and sexy manner. Get in the Discord, and now you get to see how sexily we talk about someone else's list. Cue the music.
Right, we have the Robot Legions list that Ryan sent in. So Ryan has been a friend of mine for a while. He's actually been on the channel. We did our 10th edition battle report when that first came out a little while ago now. So hi, Ryan. I think we're going to do some kill teams soon, actually. So that's maybe the first time I'm mentioning. But yeah, stay tuned for a bit of kill team because
spoilers.
Get the excitement up. Infinity's out soon. It's all about skirmish sci-fi coming up, I think.
Is also on them social media platforms.
He is the Brushbreaker on Instagram, and he has these really cool homebrew Space Marine factions that's like white with red kind of trim and stuff, and they look awesome. The theme of Ryan's list was Tri-Scorpions, which I think is an awesome theme. I really love, like, Tri-Scorpions are awesome models, and I just love a good themed list, whether you want to go like all scout units, all heavy, like just a full military, like a full iron phalanx, steel phalanx, like tanks, like all infantry, whatever you want to do. If you want to go all into that, I am up for it.
So that's why, so when we started to talk about this segment as well, one of the things I was really keen for is people to bring in and do this. Let us know.
Do it. List
bring
with a
in your
theme.
Themes. Like we can
talk about how to keep it in that theme whilst
kicking butt,
whilst making it maybe a bit more
there
efficient.
Are so many super sick themes that people churn out with their OPR list ideas, even within the bounds of the official rules and then the affiliate ones as well. I've seen some really cool ones, and I mean, so for example, we're talking about Tri-Scorpions today. Eternal Dynasties have the option to do all single model units in some of their stuff because of some of their guys.
Oh, that's cool.
You can see some, I mean, it sucks, but it's still cool. And then things like in Alien Hives, obviously Alien Hives can do anything, but like an all ambush list is cool there. You can do, themed lists are cool, folks.
Themed lists are cool.
Share them with us, because we will sit here and nerd out about them. We could probably do a video of us just going, look how cool this is. And Ryan's list fits the cool theme.
So the main event of the list, the main thing is based around is 2 units of Tri-Scorpion Lords leading Tri-Scorpions. So everything's kind of equipped basically the same. You got just loads of you got a little 18-inch range gun, which I wasn't too sure about, but I think it comes as standard on the Tri-Scorpion Lord, doesn't it? So bit pointless to have a ranged weapon, but whatever, it's there, so we forgive it. Just basically these guys are there to just get straight in. Just get in. They've got so many attacks. They got rending. Then we have a big 6-man unit of Tri-Scorpions, just in case the concept wasn't quite there. You need that big double unit. And again, these guys just have a crap ton of attacks. They have rending. And then the kind of like peripheral units, you have some destroyer snakes, which are a really awesome unit in my opinion.
So cool. Yeah,
very cool unit. They have tunneler, so good ambushing unit there. Yeah. And then a 6-model unit of bot swarms. They don't have any upgrades, so they're as they come. So 6 up, and there we go.
Before we move on to talking about the meat of this, for those of you observant folk at home, you will notice this is 2,135 points. This was a 3.3 list.
Yep.
And in 3.4, a load of points went up in terms of things like rending, because it previously wasn't calculated that rending and poison mitigated regeneration.
Yep.
Now it's in there.
Yep.
AP costing was tweaked. I think undead robot costing was tweaked.
Yeah.
So the list went up. Many lists went up, about 10%. This was one of them. And so we're going to be bringing this into the scope of 3.4.
Yeah. So it's like, so our list adjustments fit into the 2,000 points. But just something to be aware of, really. Yeah. When Ryan sent it in, the main thing he said was that he struggled with a lot of AP4 units or even armies that had a lot of high AP weapons. He found he was kind of just losing things too quickly and everything like that. And now we can come on to Dave's experience, because Dave actually played against this list in the tournament.
Yeah. So again, double shout out for you, Andy. Andy at Spymaster Gaming did a summer event, which was really well attended, where it was taking in consequentia. So you played a few games before the event day, and then on the event day you played 3 games of Grimdark Future 2K, 2 games of Skirmish, Grimdark Future Firefight, that is. I played Ryan in the skirmish game, and he beat me, and I'm still bitter about it. Fair and square as well. I got no notes. He just beat me. But I did beat him in the pre-day games in 2K, where I was running Custodians, not dissimilar to a list to one I played on the channel, where I had all of the ambush and destroy lords. And I managed to beat him in that, and he ran this list. Now, when he handed me his list, and I looked at 12 Tri-Scorpions with 2 Tri-Scorpion leaders, I was going, ooh, baby, this is going to be an elite slogfest. Yeah. I was so convinced I'd lose, because Undead is better than Fearless, which is what the Custodians are, and I was really wondering how to win it. The thing I think that actually hampered him the most, he has 5 activations. We've spoken about it already. At 2K, I think 7 activations is your sweet spot. Falling below that, it's not a linear regression here. Yeah. It's quite substantial. Yeah. And I was able to, as Custodians, have double activations on him, and that was really big. Well, I was for the first turn before his Tunneler Destroyer Snakes came in and ripped my sisters apart. But I was able to countercharge it. One of the things I was able to do to outmaneuver him on it was I had a biker. The biker was just able to fire a couple of pot shots. I actually think my biker did 2 wounds over the whole course of it, but what he was able to do at the end of it was be in a position to take 1 of 2 objectives. And I got lucky. We rolled 5 objectives. I think it was 5, maybe it was 4. He didn't have enough units at the end of the game to contest enough objectives. Yeah. So I was able to, with things like my bike and my ambushes, play the wide board, play the objective game just that little bit better. My ambushers were able to counter his ambushes by coming in afterwards. I held them back. And so that was the experience I had. It really came down to the wire. I think it came down to a couple of dice rolls in it, to the point where I think at the end of turn 3, beginning of turn 4, I was starting to count up how to win, and Ryan looked at me and went, have you figured it out yet? And he got there quicker than me. He knew the game was going to be 1 point either way. Yeah. He was just like, have you not realised it yet? And I had to be like, oh yeah, I think I have got this. And he was like, yeah, you've had this for a little bit. And he was much sharper on knowing what was going on, but I think it came down to activations. Yeah. But Ryan has said from his own experience as well, AP4, so we've had to think about that.
Awesome.
So on to the list. Now we both taken some time to have a little bit of a look at what we do if we were picking with this.
Yeah.
Talk us through what you had in your mind going through your design.
So I've faced, as I said, on a battle report before, I've played against a list like this, and I do quite like it, so I didn't change too much about it. I got rid of one of the, because so the thing is, these Tri-Scorpion Lord and Tri-Scorpions, they're what, over 500 points per thing. So when you get rid of one of those, you can keep the theme of the list. You've still got like 2 big units of Tri-Scorpions, and you just have room to do some stuff. So I actually went for another fairly expensive unit. The next thing I thought was, the problem with these guys aren't fast. They do have some ambush in there, but they're not getting anywhere once they've come in. So I thought maybe a bit of like strong range would just really help dictate what units they were going to be able to charge. So I went for a walker, a tripod walker, with the rapid ray caster, which is
A6.
It's 6 attacks, AP2. I just thought in that case, this guy, it's 30 inches. This guy just literally sits there and goes, do you know what? The Tri-Scorpions are going to have trouble with that. That one's gone.
Let's knock it on the head.
They're going to have trouble with that. That one's gone. Anything with high AP, anything that's too far out of their threat range, that's there to kind of mitigate that a little bit. And it's 300 points-ish, just over 300
That's
points.
what I was wondering about,
So like, it doesn't necessarily solve the issue of more activation. So my next thought was, these bot swarms, I was going to just split them in 2, but the way the points worked out, I actually had the points left over to go for 2 warrior units.
Ooh, okay.
I kept them fairly basic, except upgrading them to the Gauss rifles. That gives them
flux.
No, that's the other ones with this 18-inch. That's the Gauss. The flux carbines. That's the flux carbines. That's why they have flux. So the Gauss rifles are 24 inches, 1 attack with rending. So they're not meant to really cause much damage. It's 5 dudes with 1 attack each. They're hitting on 4s. They're not really going to change. But like, it's just a scoring unit that can do a little bit of something here and there. Yeah. And the points were left over. But if I didn't have those points, I would have gone for 2 individual units of bot swarms that are meant to do nothing except for grant and get an extra activation, get on some objectives, and go there. And finally, with a few leftover points, I added these destroyer snakes what's it called, a plasma bot, to give them rending in melee, because they get 12 attacks with AP2 already. 12 attacks is just such a great number to give rending to.
That was such a thing that I was looking at and thinking, how can I fit that in? And I couldn't in mine, but that is one of those things of, where is AP4 going to sit typically, is what I was thinking. Yeah. It's going to sit on some Lord Hero units and some Walker and otherwise vehicle units, right? And so with the Destroyer Snakes, you've got Tunneler to come in, and if you've got rending in melee, you've got 12 attacks. I think they're quality 3, AP2 at a baseline. You're going to do bits. Yeah, exactly. And I took a slightly different tact on it for those guys, but I completely agree with that as an assessment. I think that's such a good way of taking it.
And then my final thing was just one minor change. It was kind of because I needed the 5 points just to get up to that 2,000. But I took the Reaper Blade. So the Tri-Scorpions with the Lord, I gave them the Reaper Blade that's got 1 attack, and it's like AP4 Deadly 3 or something, because I thought then you've got 1 set of the 6 Tri-Scorpions can get in, they've just got so many attacks. Then you've got more deadly in with the Tri-Scorpion Lord, basically, because he's already got a deadly weapon. I always feel like it's quite cool to stack up a bit more deadly in a unit. That unit wants to be getting a high toughness target anyway, so why not add a bit more deadly in if you can. So that was my thinking. And then I also did upgrade the Walker with the Gauss rifle, just because how the points worked out. I ended up with those kind of 30 points spare, and since he's sitting back and shooting anyway, well, that makes sense. So that is my list.
I like that list, and I like what you've done as well with transforming the bot swarms into the warriors. How many activations was your list?
So mine was only 1 more. So
you're on 6. Okay,
6. It's still a low activation. I kind of feel like the theme of the unit, because the other reason I went with the tripod walker is it's another tri-walker.
It's another tri-walker.
So it's like, but that does, you do still have, like, I feel like the low activations is slightly, unfortunately, integral to the theme of the list.
Yeah.
You're going to have big units that eat up a lot of the points. So that's kind of where I ended with it. But yeah, I did manage to get one extra activation in there.
Nice. I like that list. I think your list covers a weakness that I know my list does have, which I'll come on to now.
Awesome.
So for my list, for Ryan, I have picked one that does two things primarily differently. We've gone to 7 activations, as I had mentioned before. I think that's quite important.
Yep.
I've brought in a caster. Now, the Robot Legion's army list, it's got some good, it's got some bad. One of the things that it has, which is so good, is the ability to give someone effectively fast.
Yeah.
You can give a level 2 spell, 2 friendly units within 12, plus 2 next time they advance, or 4 next time they rush or charge.
Yeah.
Now, again...
Interesting. I find that interesting that we obviously both realised there's like a threat range issue and kind of went for different ways of dealing with that. That's very interesting. I like that.
The interesting side grade, I think, from your perspective, is that you've taken the bot swarms and turned them into warriors. Yeah. Warriors are slow. They have the slow rule.
Yeah.
Which is going to be relevant at some point. I appreciate with the A1s, you're not necessarily trying to plink them out every time, but the difference in range between 8 and 12 or 4 and 6 can be quite substantial.
Yeah, definitely.
And so with the spells, you've got the ability to do that. Robots have the drawback that within 2k, you can't have more than caster 2.
Yeah.
There are other ways of getting higher caster and robots, but you need more points. So things like their 2 level 3 spells are harder to achieve, but that one's a really important one. The one that I think is really, really good, surprisingly, is the level 1 spell. Target enemy unit within 18 inches gets -1 to hit next time it rolls in melee. Big.
Yeah.
I think that can absolutely ruin a unit, considering that many units are qual 4.
Yeah, 4 up is a standard thing for a basic troop.
Exactly. To knock someone from the 50% chance to hit down to a 33% chance to hit.
Yeah.
I mean, it only gets better the worse the quality of the unit is initially, right? So, really powerful spell. So I've snuck a caster in there as one of the things to actually get things moving.
I do feel like, interestingly, and this is something we could probably have a whole podcast, we have maybe a fundamental disagreement on how good caster is, because I know you take it in every list you can. And we always play advanced caster in our battle reports, and I think in that it is really, really good. But in the normal thing, I've had so many times I spend all those points. I've got 6 points.
I knew
I spend 3, and you roll that 1, and the fact that it's on 1 dice roll just means it can. It's a very there's no middle ground. It just makes or breaks a strategy.
100%. Yeah, and that's why I love advanced caster, because it just takes that coin toss 1 dice out of it. It was before 3.4 came out for our January event. I was toying with a custom caster rule away from OPR, which, spoilers, go see Spymaster Gaming's video in a couple of weeks' time. We didn't do for a reason.
Yeah.
Because caster needs that. Base game caster sucks.
Yeah.
But base game caster also can be so strong.
Yeah.
That 1 dice, not only does it suck, because, on a 4+, does it hell go off 50% of the time? It doesn't at all.
So,
there's something in the universe about it.
Doesn't want it to happen.
That's why
this is, in my opinion, the stronger something is, the worse it is as a single dice roll. Because you could say, oh, there's this army's spell list has a thing that just does 500 hits with AP 7, deadly 10.
Oh, that's a 1.
And that's a 1. And now that's such a big the more impressive a spell is, the more I've had to go, this is a big part of my plan for this turn.
Yeah.
I need to do this damage. I need a deadly 3 hit to go off on that unit.
Yeah.
And it's
to give you one of the many, many counterpoints to that, though, in a particularly high stake game that you might be in, if you're in an event and you're planning everything out in your head, and you see your opponent's got a caster 3 on round 4 with 3 or 4 tokens, are you gonna fuck around and find out?
No, but
so this is one of the things, right? The potential of something doing something the potential of a unit getting that or rending charge, the potential of that caster yeeting off 2 spells, or that 1 level 3 spell on a 3+, it's almost as good as actually doing it. And so, I agree with you. Caster feels really bad, but it can be really good. And then I also have to say that one of the reasons I like Springcaster is because I'm an absolute simp for spellcasting. I'm an absolute dorky nerd for it. I love the idea of people
just the kind of visuals in your head.
Visual of it, man. Kind of... Like my psychic brain powers made your head explode. I'm suddenly Jack Black.
This lore just like animating these robots beyond what
exactly. It's cool. And so from that perspective, I'm always going to be a bit like, let's go get some caster in, and then you've got the strategic element as well. So. Yes, I brought a caster in.
So continue. That was a bit of another sidebar there.
Yeah, an important sidebar. One of the things that I've kept in that is core to this is the unit of 6 Tri-Scorpions. For many reasons. A, it's the theme, and it's cool, and Ryan's are super cool. Flash up the images on screen again, please. They're super cool. From a strategic aspect, you can fit in 2 of those dual heavy Reaper blades, which is that A1, AP4 Deadly 3.
Deadly 3,
These are 3/3 units anyway, so they're already damn good. And then you can give them rending in melee, and that 10-point upgrade applies to the whole unit. The benefit of doubling up, really strong. Then I've already mentioned the caster, so that's an Annihilator Lord. Now, playing around with that, I couldn't get 2 units of Tri-Scorpions into the way I wanted it to, but I saw Annihilators, and they're cool.
They are cool,
They've got Ambush, they've got Strider, which is super good.
Because they're the little floating beetle bats.
They are so cool. And then the actual Annihilator unit that the Annihilator Lord is attached to, A4, AP1 rending on an Ambush Strider unit. Real good. Real tasty. So that was the kind of, it's not all Tri-Scorpion Walkers, but I got the ambushing Annihilators in there, and that's cool. You went for the robot. I went for a Tri-Scorpion Pistolier.
Yes, I
like it. Because, so, with that aspect of AP4 is your problem, I'm thinking on the lines of, it's a 3/3, for those of you at home who don't know, it's a 3/3 with Tunneler, so it can ambush 1 inch away, and it's got the Hunter rule, which is, on the turn it ambushes, it has AP +2 on shooting attacks. And it's got Relentless. So you can ambush it in within an inch of something, up to within the 9 inches of something, stand it still, and fire its 6 now AP3 shots with exploding 6s. That's bloody strong.
It is. Okay. So here's a right. Let's get into. I'm not that fussed on this unit, and part of that might be because Rai used it when we played in our game, and it did a few bits and pieces, but I didn't think it kind of like made its points back. It kind of came in the first initial, because you're hoping that first initial attack is going to be amazing. For one thing, okay, let's get into this here. Relentless, in my opinion, is not a very good, not a very effective thing, because you have to stay still. You have to take a hold action.
Agree with you there.
That, so to me, says that you want it on units with missile launchers, big,
direct, long range,
all kinds of craziness. This guy has pistols. There are so many units with pistols and flamethrowers that get Relentless, and I'm like, what are they shooting at? Are they sitting in the back thing just like throwing the weapon?
Don't throw shade at the Glocktopus, okay? He is ready to rock you out. No, you are exactly right. Relentless is a rubbish version of this rule. It's not Furious or Frenzy. I wish there would be some way of like, pistol and flame units having some way of getting like a version of Relentless that doesn't require holding would be better. So that's one thing. And just for the points, I think after that first turn, the kind of the output that he can do is not necessarily the best. Here's my pitch. He doesn't have to make his points. He has to take an objective. So you ambush him on round 3, because he's got that tunneler, he can pop up on your point that you thought was safe. He can Glocktopus the crap out of you. He might be able to take one of your units off, or he might be able to pick up that pesky high armoured thing in the back line that you were really struggling to take off its AP4 cannons. it's that aspect of versatility that gives it to it. And at the end of the day, if you do nothing with it and tunnel it onto a point and neutralize an opponent's important point in round 3, it is tough 6, it is defense 3, it is self-repair, it is robot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rant about it today.
Yeah.
Undead is the strongest morale mechanic in the game. Bite me. It is. And
I fully agree with that, yeah.
He's going to stand there regardless and neutralise and or take a point.
Yeah.
And he also has the versatility option of coming in and melting somebody.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's not perfect.
I can, I can see it, and like for the theme of this list, I love it. The model, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
As you say, Gloctopus, it is badass. I just, for my taste, I wouldn't really consider taking in a Robot Legions list just for the amount of points, for the amount of kind of perceived value that I would get out of it.
Yeah, okay,
so,
cool.
It's interesting.
It's a good discussion to have on that as well.
Yeah.
Let us know what your thoughts are on the Gloctopus. The other things I did then, I took the bot swarms, I split it into 2 units. You and I have already spoken about that. You did it with warriors. I like bot swarms. Swarms are ridiculously good anyway when they've got fear mitigation effects, and Undead's the best of all of them. Destroyer snakes, get them in. What a unit.
Yeah.
Tunneler, ambush, 12 attacks. I've given my ones one of the deadly 3 attacks.
Oh, yeah.
The heavy reaper blade.
Yeah.
They can just come in, do bits, and strider the hell out of there when they need to. Such a good unit.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I did was thinking about how I'm going to fit my points around. I saw the hover bikes. What a good unit I think this is.
I've kind of like, I think because I'm not that into the models.
I have no idea what models look like.
So, well, I mostly know like GW because I love Necrons. I have my own Necrons army. And I don't know, they're round. They like sit in these little round, they're like in a little circular thing. And
like General Grievous in episode 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to find the image of the thing. That sounds cool to me. They may suck in your mind, but like...
I've never been. I mean, I don't really like the croissant flyers either. I know a lot of people love those,
the batarangs.
I don't like some Necron shit. Some Necron stuff is just hot shit.
Yeah.
Some Necron stuff, in my opinion, just looks weird, and I'm like, I see what you're trying to do, but
yeah, fair enough. Well, if that's put you off it, I understand. I didn't know that about the aesthetic.
So that's
what I was looking at is self-repair, robot, strider, fast, tough 3.
Yeah.
And then they've got 18-inch A4 flux. That thing could melt an infantry unit.
Yep.
They're fast, they're versatile. We spoke at the start of this about my experience playing Ryan's list. The ability to have a bike just to nip onto a point at the end if you hold it in the right spot.
Yeah.
And this thing outputs quite nicely as well.
Yeah.
I saw that and was like, that is a brilliant addition to this list.
Yeah.
It brings us up to 7 activations and does it in a nice way. Now, the thing this list is weak to is deadly. Everything's tough 3.
Yeah.
This is a Dave trap. I love an elite list.
You really, really do.
I do. I love a tough 3 plus list. It's not the best way of playing.
Yeah.
But if you know your weakness in your list and work around that,
you can try and
you can mitigate, right?
Yeah.
Anyone who brings all deadly 3 is going to lose to other lists.
Yeah.
So if you say you're in an event and you roll up against the guy who has 7 units of deadly 3, tough luck. But that guy's not going to beat something with a well-balanced list.
So overall, you're kind of hoping that he's not ahead of you in the overall event, even if he does beat you. Yeah.
There is that aspect of it. But at the same time, even with that list, find the deadly 3 threats that are the most threatening, the highest quality.
Yeah. Best
and
quality
put
stuff.
your 2 tunneler units next to it.
Yeah.
They've only got 1 activation with that thing that is the most high value threat.
Yeah.
Rip it apart.
Yeah.
Find your ways, and this is why ambush is such an important thing to have in your army. Find your ways of using your ambush to counter the things that are countering you.
Yeah.
If your opponent's trying to castle up with something because they know how valuable it is.
Yeah.
Like when I play my custodians into high elf fleets and they've got whatever the deadly fire people is.
Can't remember what they're called now in the latest thing.
Scorching dragons, whatever it is in Eldar.
Scorchers. I think they're called Scorchers.
If you
line
them
ones
up,
are called fire dragons.
Okay. If you line it up into the fire dragon Scorchers, they are a threat to you.
Yeah.
Because you're primarily toughness 3, so find a way of attacking that.
Get to them.
This does it damn well.
Yeah.
Like, you can't screen this too effectively unless they've got Warning Cry, which is not popular in Grimdark Future.
No, I try and find places to put it when I can, because I do think it, like, it's not expensive upgrade, and it does just give you that extra kind of...
That extra bubble.
Mitigating that risk a little bit.
I know my variation of this list has weaknesses, but I think that you can play to counter it. But yeah, there we go. There is our 2 attempts at the list, Doctor.
Awesome.
What do you think?
Talking about weaknesses, actually, I might as well. Because my one, I think you've mitigated a weakness of my list, which is mine doesn't really claim objectives. Because, as you said, I've got the bot storms to change up for the warriors, which are slow. My going for specific threats is my ranged option, which is the Scorpion, the Tri-Walker.
Yep.
Which, again, isn't really moving up. It wants to stay back and stay safe. So whereas I potentially have better threat removal, I think I lose that like fast units and ways of getting units up and on the board. So
maybe that's just one of the things then, talking instead about, this is such a good thing about OPR, we play in different ways.
Yeah.
You focus on the threats and the threat elimination.
Yeah.
I more focus on running away and playing objectives sometimes, maybe, and then trying to find single axes into it. Yeah. It's a different thing. And I think that this is an entirely different conversation if you bring in progressive scoring.
Yeah.
Where Scout, for example, I know we've not discussed it here, but Scout gets much more valuable in progressive scoring. And the way you have to play changes. And so it is a varied one. Most importantly, though, Ryan, here are your 2 lists. Have a look.
Tell us what you
tell us what you think.
What you think kind of sticks to the theme. What you would be like happier playing. Do you have the models for these? I know you have, like,
I did ask
biggest Necron
exactly right
I've ever seen.
I did say to him, what are your model limitations on it? Because I hate when I see people doing these sorts of things of, like, let's talk about lists, right?
And they just change it, and you're like, well, maybe that person doesn't have access to those.
Exactly, right. I did ask Ryan, and he said, I've got pretty much everything. So he is a diehard Necron lover, and respect to you for that one. And for those of you who are interested to know how this conversation with Ryan went, jump into the Discord. Let's see what he says. We'll have this chat there.
After,
and it could be that he likes a bit of both. It could be he likes none of it.
Yeah. He might say, actually, no, my list is better.
Yeah, exactly.
Sticking with that, screw you guys. You suck.
Really keen to know what your thoughts are. And if you've enjoyed this, and even if you've enjoyed the conversation, let us know, please. Give us the thumbs up.
Anything.
We're on the road to 1K. And if you want to see us do this for you, get in the Discord.
Send in the list.
And we'd love to do it for you.
And in the meantime, just closing things, check out Ryan. He is the Brush Breaker on Instagram. I think that's his main place. So go give him a follow there. He's posting fairly regularly. He's got his Necrons look awesome. We talked about Space Marines, but his Necrons are cool as well. Yeah. We mentioned Andy, Spymaster Gaming. He'll be linked down there as well. Check out the Discord. And apart from that,
why are you still here?
We're done here. So
is that it?